everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. I am Preeti, working as Oracle Fusion Functional Consultant. So in our earlier session of our webinar series, we have discussed the account receivable configurations. So these were the topics that we have covered in our first day session, where we have discussed the steps of the order to cash process. Then we discussed what are the roles that was required by the user to perform the AR related configurations in the Oracle Fusion application. Then we have gone through how to create the standard invoice, credit memo and debit memo. Then in the second day of this webinar series, we have discussed how to create the standard receipt creation, then how to create the reversal of the standard receipt, how to create the debit memo receipt reversal, how to create the miscellaneous receipt creation. Then in the last session of this webinar series, we have discussed the creation of the miscellaneous receipt and how to create the debit memo reversal receipt. And in today's session, we will discuss how to create the chargeback transaction, then how to create the receipt batch in spreadsheet, and then how to create the reciprocal customer. So we are doing this as per the client requirement. Let's move to the requirement document here. Chargeback transaction creation in case the customer makes a partial payment of his invoice. Then the application must allow for a new date to be set for the remaining balance. For example, say we have created the standard invoice for one customer for $20,000, and now he is ready to pay $10,000 and he needs new due date for the remaining balance. Then in that case, in the Oracle Fusion application, we create the chargeback transaction. And how we will create the chargeback transaction, we will directly move to our application and we'll see practically how to configure the setups for the chargeback transaction creation. Go to navigator here. First we will create one standard invoice. For that we have to go to the receivable workbench area. From there you have to go to the billing workbench area. And now go to the task list. Then click on create transaction. At 15. Search for the item here. Let's take it the measurement of the service in hours. So the final amount for this invoice is 27,600, and now we will click on complete and review. Then go to the actions, and from here we can see the balance for this invoice. So here you can see the original amount is 27,600 and the remaining balance amount is 27,600. Now We will create the partial receipt against this invoice. Click on save and close, and then go to the account receivable workbench area. This is the receipt, this is a transaction number. Let's copy it. Now move back to the receivable workbench area, and from there you have to go to the accounts receivable, and here we will create a manual receipt where we will apply this open receivable. Click on create receipt here. Select the receipt method. Here you have to mention the customer detail. Now click on submit and apply manually. Okay, so I have to fill the amount. Let's take it as 15,000. Now we have created the receipt. You can see here the status as unapplied amount is 15,000. Let's apply this 15,000. For that you have to click on this add open receivables, and you can see the list of the open receivables for this customer. Click on search here. So this was the invoice that we have created. Now click on add and then click on done. You can see here applied amount is 15,000 and still the pending amount is 12,600. And now when you will go to the action, you can see the option create chargeback, but it is faded out. For activating this option, you have to click on this save icon. Now this receipt is saved and the open receivable that you have applied against this receipt is saved here. And again you have to go to the actions, and from actions you can see now create chargeback option is activated. Click on this create chargeback. Now it is asking for which kind of chargeback type it is. Let's take it as chargeback. This is the amount. Let's take the due date as 21, and here it is asking for accounting distribution combination. This is the account, and now here you have to mention the reason for the chargeback, small amount remaining. Let's give the comment here with the mutual. Now click on save. Chargeback 101001 has been created. Let's copy this chargeback transaction number. Click on save and close here. Now again we will go back to the original transaction and we'll see the balance there. Again go to the billing workbench area. Click on manage transactions, and here we can search it out with the transaction number. So we already saved this transaction number, that is 75765. So this is the transaction that we have created. Open this receivable and then go to the actions, and from actions you can view the balance details. You can see here the original amount with which we created the invoice was 27,600, and the receipt against this invoice that we have booked is 15,000, and for the remaining balance we have created the chargeback transaction with new due date. So you can see here the adjustment, and that amount is deducted from here. Now when we have created the chargeback transaction, the system automatically generated the invoice with new due date, and to that transaction we call it out as chargeback transaction. Now click on save and close, and now we will search it out with the customer name, and then you will be able to see this chargeback transaction that have been created automatically by the system itself. Go to manage transactions and then search with the customer name here. Click on search. And this was the chargeback transaction number, and you can see it out here that this chargeback transaction is automatically generated by the system when we have selected the option of create the chargeback transaction. You can see the reason for the chargeback, and this is the amount for this chargeback invoice. This is a comment, and this is the new due date of this invoice. So this is how you can create the, in case the data is in bulk, the user needs to upload the payment collection from customers. For that purpose we create the receipt in the spreadsheet. User are able to bulk upload payment collection from customer and create receipt with the application. So for creating the receipt batch you have to use the spreadsheet. So let's move back to the application and we will see how to download the spreadsheet for the receipt batch creation. Go to the account receivable workbench area. First we will create 2 or 3 transactions, and against those transactions we will create those receipts, because we have to put the reference value or reference transaction detail. Go to the create transaction. click on complete and review. And then click on save and close. Let's save this transaction number. Let's go to the manage transactions here. Let's duplicate one transaction with this invoice. Only we will change the amount here. And now we will create a receipt and spreadsheet against these invoices. Now move back to the accounts receivable workbench area. Go to the task list, and here you will find the option that is create receipt and spreadsheet. Click on this option, and you will see by the time you clicked on this option, one file is downloaded. Open this file, and here you will require your login credentials to have access to this document. Click on yes. Now you can see the file here. With this sheet you can create the receipt in bulk. Now it is asking for business unit, so by default the user have access to this business unit only, so by default system is taking this business unit. Now here you have to select the batch source, so I have taken this as batch source. Here you have to give the batch name. Let's note it down in the notepad and select the receipt method. Click on search here, then click on OK. Now search for remittance bank. Again click on OK, and you can see the currency here. Now give the sequence here, sequence number, let's take it as 1. And here you have to give the receipt number, or you can say that you have to mention the check number. Here you have to give the receipt amount. And here you have to give the receipt date. let's take it as today's date, and I'm taking the same date in the accounting date field also. And if you are using the multi-currency payment option, then you have to fill out the conversion date, currency, conversion rate, type details here. The information related to the conversion of currency, you have to mention it out here. Then here you have to give the currency here. Let's take it as USD. And here you have to give the customer name, from which customer you have received this payment. You have to select it out here. By the time you have selected the customer account number filled out by the system by default, and here you have to double click on it and you will be able to select the customer site. If in case this customer have multiple sites, you can select the name of the site from which site you have received this payment. You can see here, select the reference type. Let's take it as transaction number, and the reference value, you have to mention the transaction number here. For that we have saved, this is the transaction number. Let's take it as 75766, and the reference amount is, so we have created a receipt for 17,500. In this way only we will fill out 2-3 more receipts. So I am taking this only for the practice purpose. And fill out the currency detail here. And here we have to mention the reference type. Let's take it as transaction number only, and mention the transaction number in the reference value. So we have filled out all the required information. This is the sequence number, these are the receipt numbers, then these are the amount that we have received, this is the receipt date, and this is the accounting date, this is the currency of payment received, and this is the customer information from which customer we have receiving this payment. This is the customer name, customer account number and customer site number. Then this is the against which transaction number we have received this payment. We have to fill out in the spreadsheet so that it will be easy to apply the open receivable against this receipt, and this is the reference amount. Now now we have to click on upload, click on OK. So you can see the status here, row inserted successfully. Now we have to move to our application. Go to account receivable workbench area, and you can see this was the receipt batch that we have created. We have saved the receipt batch name. This is our receipt batch name, and now you can see here this is the batch type. Open this receipt batch and you can see the receipts that we have created with this receipt batch. This is the information that we have filled out while creating the receipt batch in spreadsheet. This is the count, that is the sequence number. We created the 4 receipt in the spreadsheet. This is the amount for which we have created the receipt batch, and for separate receipt number you can see the information by selecting the receipt number here. You can see here when I have taking 750021 receipt number, this is the entered amount. In this way you can select the receipt number and you can see the information of this receipt. This is the remittance bank, this is the customer detail, and here you can see the reference detail. That means against which transaction number we are receiving this amount. Then the user will be able to apply the open receivable to this receipt. Now we have to post this receipt batch. First we will create the receipt batch and then the user will review the receipts and then only he will be able to post these receipt batch. Click on post here. Click on OK. And now go to manage receipts. So we have receipt batch number. Let's search it out with that receipt number. We can see that these are the receipts that we have created in the spreadsheet, and then we have posted this receipt, and you can see these receipts you can see in the manage receipts. Now open first receipt, that is 478901. And now we can apply the open receivable to this receipt. Let's check it out. 75766, add open receivable. So this was the receipt against which we have received this amount. Add this receipt against this add this transaction against this receipt, and then click on apply. Click on save and close. Then click on done. Then move back to the transaction, and there you will see that the receipt that we have created in spreadsheet, and we have applied the open receivable. The amount of receipt will be deducted from the original amount. Go to the view balance detail, and you can see here the original amount was 75,000. Then we have applied 32,000, and this was the receipt that we have created through spreadsheet, amounted to rupees 32,000, and this receipt we have applied to this transaction, and you can see the remaining balance amount. So in this way you can create the receipt in spreadsheet when you have data of receipt in bulk. At that time you can use the spreadsheet for the creation of the receipt. And now our next task for the day is that we have create the reciprocal customer. So why we create the reciprocal customer? Create a transaction in the application where a business user can use one customer information to create a receipt for another customer. So in the application you need that you can use one customer information for creating the receipt from other customer. For that you have to create the relationship between the customer. So there are few configurations that you have to do in the application for creating the reciprocal customer. First you have to go to the receivable system options. There you have to enable one checkbox that will allow the user to create the reciprocal customer. Go to the setup and maintenance, then select the setup area as financial, then go to the receivable functional area, and here go to the manage receivable system options. In the billing and revenue tab you have to go to the customer area, and you can see here the checkbox which is disabled now. You have to enable this checkbox for creating the reciprocal customer in the application. So enable this checkbox, then go to the cash processing tab and disable this allow payment of unrelated transactions. Then click on save and close. Then we have to check the reference data set. As I told you in our earlier session that in the account receivable module in the Oracle Fusion, for creation of customer we need different reference data set. the scope, select your business unit. Now come to the customer account site. Here you can see this is the reference data set. And now go to the customer workbench area, and there we will create the relationship between two customers. For that, go to the billing workbench area and then go to the task list, and then go to the manage customers. Here search for the customer name. Now here go to the accounts. For that, click on this account number, and you can see the tab here, that is relationship. With which customer you need to create the relationship with, you have to select the name of that customer here. Let's take it as ABC Application Software. Then click on this checkbox, that is reciprocal. Give the comment here, it is completely optional. And in the account relationship set, you have to mention the RDA's name, and we have copied this reference data set name. Select this reference data set here, and you can also provide the date range. Say if your customer only want this kind of relationship for a month, then you have to provide from date to date. In our case, we are only taking from date. Click on OK now, and then click on save and close. Now we will create the transaction with ABC Consulting, and the payment will be done by ABC Application Software. Let's create one transaction. Click on complete and close. Click on OK, and now we will go to the receipt workbench area. Click on create receipt here. Now here we will search with the ABC application software. Then click on submit and apply manually. Then click on add open receivable and click on search. Let's search the transaction amount. Now click on save and close. So this is how we applied the receipt through the ABC software, ABC application software. First we have created the relationship between the ABC consulting and ABC application software. Then we have created the transaction with ABC consulting and payment is received by the ABC application software. So this is how we can create the reciprocal customer in the application. So in our today's session we have discussed the chargeback transaction process, then we have discussed how to create the receipt batch in the spreadsheet, and then we have discussed how to create the reciprocal customer relationship in the application. Thank you so much for joining this session. Have a nice day.